Good day, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I'm going to be spending the next few minutes with you talking about generative AI for business, and we're going to look at use cases across industries. A little bit about myself. My name is Charly McCracken, and I am the owner-operator of Atlanta Web Design and SEO. We are an AI digital marketing agency in Georgia. In 2011, I took the plunge and got my project management certification from the Project Management Institute. I went on to learn how to code at Clayton State University. I graduated from Gwinnett Technical College, again, learning to code and understand web design and development. And just recently, I got my IBM AI prompt engineering certification that was held through an organization called cognitiveclass.ai. So what we're going to cover today are two specific things. We're going to learn a little bit about AI for business and get some information. Then I'm going to go through a couple demonstrations with you. We're going to talk about what is AI, the history of AI, the science of AI. We're also going to talk about what generative AI can do for businesses. We're going to talk about the importance of it in business. And we're going to look at some popular generative AI tools. We're going to move over to the demonstrations, and we're going to look at two industries and do two specific demos per industry for each industry, showing a specific use case. We're going to also get an opportunity to look at some cautions and tips, and then we're going to conclude. And if you have questions, we'll manage them at the end. So let's get started. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, or AI, is a field of science that involves creating machines and computers that can learn, reason, and act like humans. These computers and machines are used to mimic the problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. AI combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem-solving. AI can also learn from experience, adjust to new inputs, and perform human-like tasks. So let's do a little brief history about AI. And what I can tell you is that AI is an old school technology. The groundwork for AI began in the early 1900s. And in 1936, Alan Turing, an English mathematician and man of logic, laid the groundwork for AI as he worked to determine if a machine could imitate human conversation. Because of this and many other contributions, he was honored with the title, the Father of Modern Computing. And if you don't know who Alan Turing is, he's worth checking out. Artificial intelligence as a field of study and research has been around for many decades. The term artificial intelligence was first coined in 1956. So you could say that AI is over 65 years old, or that AI is a senior citizen. AI research seriously kicked off in the 1950s when the first AI program, which was a checkers game, was developed by Arthur Samuel, who worked for IBM, and he did that in 1952. If you're interested, there is a cool timeline of AI that dates back to the Greek antiquities. It's on Wikipedia, and you can see the link here. I'll drop the link down in the description as well. So the reality is that AI will be part of our everyday lives forever. and it will touch almost every business and every industry. Let's look at the science of AI. So artificial intelligence is a field of study. And in that field of study is a sector called machine learning. And machine learning focuses on the creation of intelligent machines that learn from data and can automatically adapt with minimal human input. Then there is a subclass of machine learning called deep learning. This uses neural networks to teach computers to mimic the learning processes of the human brain. And then we get to what we are going to discuss today, generative AI. Generative AI is a type of artificial neural network that can generate totally new data based on the training and the data set. And it's also based on the prompts that we enter. So, what can generative AI do? It can see, it can hear, it can read, and it can analyze and summarize data. And what can it generate? It can generate text, images, video, and music. Let's talk about the importance of AI in business. According to an article that I recently read that was written by Deloitte, and it was entitled, "The Implications of Generative AI for Business." And what the article says is that there are many positive impacts of AI for businesses, including enhanced customer experiences through personalized interactions, operational efficiencies, cost reductions, accelerated innovation and product development, improved decision-making, and advanced analytics. It's scalable, and it has flexibility in operations, and it can increase the competitive advantage of the business through AI-driven insights. For more details, you can actually read the article yourself. There's the link. And I'll drop the link in the description of this video. Now, let's talk about some tools. We need tools for our job. So here is a list of popular generative AI tools. And on the left, you see the tools that I love to use day after day, week after week, month after month. And come November, I'll be able to say year after year. But there is a library. And this library is called Futurepedia. It's like Wikipedia, but it's called futurepedia.io. On this particular website, almost every AI tool for generative AI that you can think of is listed. And there are hundreds. I have not tried them all. I don't have a lot of time to play, but I'm willing to spend a couple of hours a week playing and learning new tools. But what you see on the left are what I do in my daily activities for my clients. I use ChatGPT. I now have 4.0, which stands for Omni. I also use DALL-E 3, which has been integrated into ChatGPT 4. I use Anthropic's Claude 3 Opus, Canva, Midjourney, MailChimp, and I love the new Perplexity Pro. It is amazing. You've got to check it out. And then when I need to do automations, I'll use Zapier. So now, with that, let's move on to our first industry and discuss what it is. We're going to talk about two big industries. The first one is real estate. And I know that you know it's a huge thing. So our objective today with our demo is going to look at how we can automate real estate market reporting and generate responses. But look at all the other things that AI can do in the real estate industry. Property descriptions, personalized property recommendations for buyers, virtual staging, chatbots, predictive analysis for property valuation, automated lease agreement generation, AI-assisted property management communication, and the list goes on. But let's move to the demo. In order to save time, I have already added my prompts, but I will let you see that. But in the meantime, let's look at this particular case, this use case. The data source is going to be a huge document that was published by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's entitled National Comprehensive Housing Market Analysis, and it was produced in 2024. Let's take a look at it. There it is. It's pretty huge, pretty in-depth. And what I will tell you about it is a comprehensive market analysis that provides in-depth explanation of the economic conditions, demographic trends, and the housing market dynamics across the United States. And it offers valuable insight into job growth, GDP trends, population changes, and housing market conditions between the years of 2010 through the end of 2023. A lot of data in there, lots and lots of data. And our objective today is to use artificial intelligence to summarize some key indicators about economic conditions, population trends, and the housing market. And the reason that we're doing this is so that we can extract, analyze, and present reports and data insights so that our decision makers and stakeholders can have high-level information so they can make some actionable steps, take some actionable steps right away. So let's take a look at that. Now I'm going to take you to ChatGPT-4. And we're going to look at the results. So the very first thing that I did was I took that document, I compressed it, and I uploaded it in to ChatGPT. And from there, I just wanted to extract small bits of information. So I started with asking for a summary of the economic conditions, and it did a fine job of providing that information for me. So it did job growth, the GDP growth, talked about the economic sectors. See all the different economic sectors. Then I asked it to do the exact same thing, but this time I asked it to look at the population trends. It did a good job. Talks about the growth, regional growth, migration trends. It even talked about the age cohort changes, household trends, and then it did a forecast for population increase. Then I asked it for the home sales, and it did a good job. It gave me the sales, the figures, the pricing trends, the inventory levels, the regional market conditions. And then it looked at seriously delinquent mortgages or repossessions or foreclosures. It also talked about construction trends. And of course, it talked about affordability. The next thing that I did was I said, based on the data that you extracted, calculate the average job growth rate and the GDP growth rate over the past years as mentioned. So it's going to look at those years we talked about, and it says that the average job growth is going to be 3.45%, and the average GDP is going to be 0.80. See how quickly I can take that data? And then I asked it, would you describe to me the trends for the job growth and GDP growth? And so what it did was it visualized a line chart. So all of the data is a lot easier to read. It's in bullet points. It's not in paragraphs. So you can grab the information very, very quickly. Okay, you can see that it looked at 2020 through 2023, which were the years of data for the job growth and the GDP growth trend. And then it even gave us a visual. It said, if it were going to be on the x-axis, I would have the years, and then I would have the variables in the y-axis. And it even described what the lines would look like. And then it gave me the key features. Okay. Then the last thing that I did was I said, now combine all of the summaries and generate a comprehensive real estate market report and include the average job growth rate and GDP growth rate in the economic summary. So now for that, I'm going to have to show you part 2 because I was using a lot of tokens. So I decided to put it in a second chat so I can easily get to that chat. Here it is. So it has the prompt at the beginning. There it is. So I took a document and I combined all of the summaries, and it is my prompt. And from there, it started to generate for me. So I asked it to look like a nice report. So it has a title, subtitles, has the average information up at the top clearly. Then it has the narrative for each piece. See that? Isn't that cool? And it did the population. And it goes on. And then finally, I asked it, well, now that you've given me all of this information, I want you to give me visual reports. And so these are the charts that it actually created for me. See these? And here they are. Isn't that amazing? You can just pop them right into your PowerPoint presentation or your report. Isn't that beautiful? And then it gave me a summary of what it gave, what the charts say. Amazing, amazing. So if we had decision makers who wanted to have some actionable overview, then we could use AI to help them glean this document from this serious document here and go ahead and make their decisions based on trends that are accurate. Okay, now let's quickly move on to our industry number 2. Industry number 2 is a nonprofit sector. And the objective for this nonprofit demonstration is going to be to get some help with writing a grant. But look at all the other things that a nonprofit can take advantage of if they integrate AI into their workflows. Automated donor thank you letter generation, personalized fundraising campaign, content creation, impact reports, volunteer recruitment and onboarding documentation, AI assisted social media, multilingual, because you know that the outreach for nonprofits is global now, and all of these other wonderful things. There's just so much, and this is not everything. This is not all inclusive. Let's move on to the demonstration. For this particular one, the data source is an about me, about us document that talks about the who, what, when, where, and why of an organization. It's a nonprofit called the Neighborhood Empowerment and Wealth Collective. The Neighborhood Empowerment and Wealth Collective was created to develop affordable workforce housing in Georgia. The nonprofit is positioning itself to qualify for a huge grant to help them build the homes. So what is the expected result that we want to see from this particular demo? Well, we want to see if AI can identify some grants and then create a list of a detailed list of specific actions that they must take and information that they must communicate to fully qualify for the grant. And that's one of the things that's the good advantage. Let's go to it. Is so many nonprofits go after grants that they're not really qualified for. AI can tell them upfront if they're qualified, and if they're not, they can help them qualify. And if they don't qualify for the grant that they're looking for, that they have identified, it can help them identify another one. So here again, I was able to upload the document, the about document with the who, what, when, where, and why for the Neighborhood Empowerment Wealth Collective. And then you can see that my prompt says, can you review the attached and identify a USDA grant that this nonprofit would qualify for to provide home building money to support their project? And it did. It found 5. So here are the 5 grants based on the information that was included. So just that little bit of information, which is basic. It's not even the detail. So it found the 5 grants. And out of the 5 grants, we wanted to take a look at number 3. It's this one here, the Rural Community Development Initiative. So what I asked Chat to do was to tell them exactly what the requirements are for this particular grant. And that's what it did. It gave the purpose of the grant, the eligibility criteria for the grant, the funding details for the grant, and then the application process. Okay, so there you go. It even gave a contact number for them to get some support from the USDA, because the USDA wants to give away this money. So they provide resources to help you. And then what are the exact questions on a grant? So it gave a little bit more detail this time, because this time it actually talked about what the grant could be used for, that it had to have matching funds. So it gives you more detail. And then the proposal requirements are here. Okay. And then it talks again about the application process. And then finally, I asked it, how likely is this organization to get the grant? And it looked at how it was aligned with the grant, how this nonprofit was aligned with the grant, but it also talked about some competitive factors and additional things for that nonprofit to consider. Then I asked it to generate a detailed list of information that they have to get together and present to qualify for the grant. And then it worked. It said, this is what needs to be in your budget, and this is how it needs to look. They want a work plan, and this is exactly the detail. It's a highly detailed document. Then it talked about a needs assessment and how they need it to be presented, organizational capacity, performance, and the list goes on. And that is pretty amazing. And at the end, they gave some resources to help the nonprofit qualify for the grant. So I hope that that's been helpful for you. Going back to our presentation, I'd like to share with you before we end a couple of very important tips. Never input confidential information, personal data, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, passwords, or any data that's covered under an NDA. Do not input it into any AI tool. Humans can see that data. And then keep in mind that AI tools make mistakes and they hallucinate. A large reason for this is because the prompt didn't give enough information. That's why I like to upload documents with as much information as I can get so that I can get a better result. Fact check results and responses if you're not fully familiar with the subject matter. Fully review and edit to ensure that the responses represent the voice or the brand of the business. Prompt engineering is a class worth taking. Garbage in, garbage out. I'll say it again. Prompt engineering is a class worth taking. And then keep in mind that all responses may not be acceptable for all audiences. There are some recipients, like schools, who say, don't use AI, and they'll put your data through a detection mechanism, and you can be rejected. So be careful about that. Understand who your audience is. And with that, I will say this. You can see that businesses need to integrate AI into their workflows. It offers tremendous benefits because it helps them conduct research, analyze and extract data from large documents and data sets, generate summary data, create reports and charts, compare data, and make recommendations for improvements. So, when used properly, generative AI is a game changer and helps businesses stay efficient and competitive. With that, I'll entertain your questions. Having none, I will say thank you for your participation. I hope that this training on generative AI for business, use cases across industries, was helpful for you. Thank you so much for your attendance.